Hello. Get that lighting right. All right, just let me go into the group. Alrighty, so I am live and today is day one of the Discovery Call Challenge, and the reason that I wanted to do this particular challenge is because discovery calls are a coach's bread and butter, especially if you're just getting started in your coaching business or if you're just getting really serious about taking your coaching business to the next level. Because without really good discovery call skills, you're not going to convert those clients. And if you are avoiding doing discovery calls because you can't seem to convert, then you'll tend not to do them. And if you're not doing that, hey Jess, then what's going to happen is you're going to end up with no clients. And if you don't have clients, then you essentially don't have a business. And while I love to do online programs and all of that sort of stuff, what I love about this industry is that it's taking a little while for my online programs to get up, if I'm launching something, a way for me to boost my income is just to start doing discovery calls again. And that's the simplest, easiest way to make money in coaching. I love online. I'll always have an online component, and online programs and things like that. But as I said, what I love is the ability to just go, I need to boost my income this month because the membership program's taking a little while to take off or whatever it is. Then I just basically reach out to people who have asked for coaching in the past, and I didn't want to do coaching sessions at that time, or it wasn't part of my business model at the time, or I just start running ads and then end up with some leads and then run discovery calls. Honestly, if you have a coaching business and you haven't made any money in your coaching business yet, then doing this is going to be your first priority. Creating an online program and all those things need to wait because it takes a little while to get up and running to do that stuff. So if you really need to be making income in your business now, doing discovery calls and closing clients into a program is the quickest, easiest way to do that. So just wanted to reference it by saying that. It's a great skill to have. If you can do a great discovery call, then you will have a business. If you can, actually not just that, if you can get leads coming into your business, and we're going to talk about that tomorrow, if you can get continuous leads coming into your business and you can do great discovery calls and your conversion rate is good, and I'll talk about why your conversion rate will be good in a minute, but if you can do those two things, then you will always have the ability to make money and good money in your coaching business. All right, so I just want to talk to you about the early days of me doing discovery calls. So I've been coaching since 1991, but didn't really have the need for a discovery call or a discovery session back then, because a lot of it was face-to-face discovery session, until I did my coaching training back in 99. And when I did that, I loved the coaching training. It was incredible. I learned so much from just the way that we phrase questions and things like that. But anyway, I don't want to get sidetracked with that. But one of the things that where was I going with that? I got a sidetrack to myself. So one of the things that we learned was our discovery sessions. And as I said, I didn't really need discovery calls or discovery sessions until then because, I hadn't done my coaching training and I wasn't officially doing any sort of training, and I was just people would land in my lap and I would just coach them. But when I did my coaching training is when they set us up with a script for a discovery session and a methodology, like a framework for the discovery session. And that pretty much killed it for me because, trying to memorize pages and pages and pages of notes to try and make sure that I got the discovery call sequence just right, it just removed all of me from the process. And so I was not converting at all because I was crap at it, basically, because I just felt so uncomfortable with the discovery call script, and it didn't matter what I did, I couldn't make it mine. It just felt like something that I don't know, just didn't feel right. And it reminded me actually when I was, I think I was 20, I worked at a timeshare resort selling timeshare. I was shit at that too because I didn't believe in it. And so we had to learn a script, and I had to go around and, when we got to this bit of the resort, we would say this bit. And when we got to this bit, we would say this bit. And I've never been good at that. I've never been good at scripting. And if you're a leader, if you have a message, if you feel passionate about your people, thanks, Jess, then reading somebody else's stuff is never going to sit well for you. It's interesting, Jess. I'm just going to take an aside because I have got my notes for today's session. And just before I came on, I made a note, story, script, because I know it's important to relate to the content, whether it's my content or anybody else's. And so really good for you to know this and the people that are watching the recording later on, because stories always help us to relate. And they also remind you of just how much you know and how much experience you've got. I'm going back a long time ago now, but yeah, anyway, so I worked at that holiday timeshare resort for quite a couple of years, but I was in sales for a very short period of time. I think our retainer was like $150 a week, and every time I made a sale, I would have to just pay back everything, the retainer, I had to pay that back. And so I never made any money from it. And any sale that I had eventually fell through anyway, which really scarred me about sales. But so I ended up with a job in the resort office and I managed that thing like a boss. It was awesome. So I had a really good time after that. But yeah, sales and me and timeshare didn't work. But the scripting of doing discovery calls, it felt the same. It felt the same awkwardness, forced, fake. It didn't feel right. And so I wasn't converting because I was uncomfortable with it and people could see that I was uncomfortable with it, and I just made people uncomfortable. It was just awkward. And if you've done discovery calls like that, you will know what I'm talking about. You know how that feels. You just feel like, you're so conscious of yourself in the process and getting things right and saying the right things, and it's just a shit show, honestly. So if you're in that place of you've got you've done your coaching program and they've given you a script and you're trying to use this script or this framework to get your to run these discovery calls and it feels terrible, hey Emily, just ditch it altogether. You've just got to abort, abandon it. Just don't keep using it, because I don't care if they tell you that, everybody that's successful in our coaching program uses this process. There are a lot of robots out there that can do that, but if it's uncomfortable for you, you've just got to stop doing it because it's going to kill sales before you even start. So yeah, that's probably the first thing. The scripting has to feel really personal. But anyway, so the way that because today is all about, what did I say it is? It's about basically creating the difference between converting and non-converting discovery calls and how to double your conversion rate. So the immediate way that you can increase your closing rate with your discovery calls is, first you've got to have the right market for your problem, your solution that you have a solution for, or your product. So you've got to have the right market, the right pricing, and the right offer. Got to be real. Yeah, exactly. Oh my God, I've got another story. Hang on, I've got to write a note. Story 2, because I've got to tell you about that. Oh my God. Anyway, it was an experience where I worked with a coach who basically just had the manual in the death grip the whole time I was coaching with her, but I'll come back to that. So yeah, to make sure that you're going to have success when you even bother with a discovery call session is you've got to have the right market, you've got to have the right product, and you've got to have the right pricing. So all of those things have to be a match. So whoever you're targeting in your marketing, you've got to be conscious of that, because there's no point having somebody come into a discovery call with you that was never ever going to be a client, because the match was just not there. So when you're doing it, it's not just when you're running Facebook ads or anything like that, but it's the marketing, it's everything that you do, everything that you say on your website, or the imagery, what is it that you're trying to project? Because your brand will have a certain look and feel about it, and people will make assumptions about that brand based on those things. So you'll see some sites and they look cheap and nasty, and you're like, this program is going to be cheap. And you just know that. And if it's not, you're like, yeah, well, good luck with asking that price when you got all of this going on. Do you know what I mean? So you've got to have this, it's really got to match up. So do your homework on making sure you are in the right market and your market has money to spend. Or adjust your price accordingly and work on volume. That's a whole other conversation, but I hope you know what I'm talking about there. So right market, right offer, right price. If you can get that right already, your conversions are going to increase because you're talking to the right people. You've got the right people that are on a call with you. Another way to do that is to just make sure that you put them through a process so that it feels, by the time they arrive at you, on that call, they're already pre-sold. And there are a number of ways to do that, but it's through your content. It's through the questionnaire that you make them fill out before they, before they can meet with you. So you have to basically test those potential clients a little bit before they arrive in the discovery call with you. So I want people to have to work a little bit hard to do a discovery call. There's questions there. Some of those questions are a little bit confronting, but it's like, I want people to show up on it. Just, if I'm going to give somebody my time, I want to make sure that they're the right person. And if it's not a good fit, that's fine. That happens. And I get to choose that too. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit more in a moment. But, you want to put people through a process where when they arrive at you, it's like, we're really, ideally, you want it in a position where you're really just working at the details. Like, can they afford it? How are they going to pay for it? How are we going to do this? Basically, that's what a good discovery call is, because you've already set it up really well in the beginning. And fortunately for me, that's how most of mine go these days. I do still get the occasional one that basically will say, because one of the questions that I ask in my discovery call questionnaire is, are you in a position to start coaching right away if we're a good fit? And are you in a financial position to do that? Will you need a payment plan? And that tells me a lot of information. If people say no, often I'll email back and say, look, I'm sorry, I only do discovery calls with people who are in a position to invest. When you're in a better financial position, please, get in touch again. Sometimes though, if I really like a person and I know I can help them, and I just see this person just is not going to handle any rejection right now, I will do the discovery call and I will break one of my rules and I will give them something, and I'm going to talk about those in a minute, and I'm going to give them something to go away and implement so that they feel like they really got something from it. They go away feeling good. And then I know that when they are in a financial position, they are going to come back and work with me. And I've had people that have worked with me, have, done a discovery call years ago, and they come back, or they've done one of my lower end programs years ago and they love the result that they got from that. And then when they could afford it, they come to me, so you've got to have a long-term view with this stuff as well. Because someone says no, it doesn't necessarily mean no forever. It just means no right now. And the last thing that you want is to take on a client who is financially under the pump and then they want, I'm talking about from my perspective, but if you're a life coach or a wellness coach, this stuff isn't quite so relevant. But if you work in the place where I work, where I'm helping people with business strategy and helping coaches create, successful businesses online and offline, then the last thing that I want is for somebody to come to me in a state of desperation where they're like, I can only just afford to pay the first month, and then, we just have to make this work before the next month. It puts a lot of pressure on me. It puts a lot of pressure on them, and you can't do it properly, because at the end of the day, building a successful business takes time. It really does. And so for those people, I will usually always say, I can get you ready to pay for that next month of coaching, but you have to do what I say and you have to be really brave and you've got to take a lot of action, but we can do that. And a lot of the time, they don't. And it's, yeah, anyway. But really be rigorous about your application process so that when they arrive with you and you're doing the discovery call, they already love you. They already know what you do because you put a lot of content out there, the market matches right, all of those things. And then it's just a matter of going, okay, yep, okay, we're on the same page. Are we going to do this or not? And then you work through that. So that's the first part. Now I want to talk about the 3 rules of running a discovery call that converts. And the first one is you've got to do more listening than talking. It's as simple as that. And when people come to me with their discovery calls, I've already had them fill out a questionnaire, so I know a lot of stuff. But I still always start the session with, look, I've got all the information that you've sent me, but now I just want you to tell me in your words what's going on. And then I just shut up because I want to listen for what's really important. I want to know that I can help this person. I want to know that, because logically you've got to do this. So what is the underlying stuff that I'm going to be dealing with if I take you on as a client, and can I help you? So I'm listening the whole time. I'm listening for what they're saying. I'm listening for the undertone. I'm watching for themes. Is you've got to ask for the sale. And so the sale is, okay. So it's just gone from recording to live again. How interesting. Anyway, I'm hoping you're still with me. I don't know what you saw, but it was new for me. Anyway, so the last thing is ask for the sale. And a lot of people get really jumpy and weird about that, and that's when they lose it a lot of the time. And I know I did. It was like I could feel myself swallowing, I could feel the sweat breaking out, and I could feel the, like, oh my God, this is going to feel so awkward, It's shit, honestly. But now, if you've done the job right and they're telling you all their problems and you can help that person, for me, it's very, I come across people that I don't want to work with, or that I know I can't help, or that I don't want to help because our values are offline or out of alignment. But most of the time I really want to help someone. I really do. And so I'll say to them, look, I really want to help you with this. Do you want some help with it? It's as simple as that. And then they'll say yes. And then you can move into the conversation about, okay, so are you in a position to pay for the program right now, and we can get you started. Then you can go on to the logistics, but you've just got to get your yes. And the yes is, it should feel really natural and easy. If they're a good match, they have a problem that you can solve, you've built a really good rapport, they trust you, and you're having a great wow of a time there, and you can solve that problem. It really is as simple as saying, I really want to help you with this. Do you want some help with it? Do you want me to help you with it? Or, your version of that. You have to feel comfortable with that. And if they say yes, then it's just a matter of working out the details. And you can't let the sale go without taking a deposit, because you'll lose them otherwise. And so you have to be in a position to be able to take payment. That's number 4. I should have added 4 to my notes. But you have to be in a position to take payment. So if I'm on a discovery call with a client, okay, well, I'm going to need to take a deposit if we're going to lock this in, or are you going to pay in full, or how do you want to pay for it, or however you tidy that bit up. And then I know I can take payment straight away. Awesome, great, Jess. So you need to be able to take payment. I can take payment via PayPal. I can take payment via Stripe. I can set them up in an online payment form through my Easy Pay system. So there's a number of different ways that I can take payments, but I can take payments right now. If you can't, you will lose them. If you say, oh, I'll just send you an invoice, people, whenever they're making a big purchase or a big decision like that, they're in resistance, and they have, straight away there's it's not buyer's remorse, but oftentimes it's just feeling like, have I made the right decision? And they panic because they don't trust themselves to do the work a lot of the time, because, maybe they've worked with coaches in the past, maybe they've bought programs in the past that they haven't used, and they just don't trust themselves to do the work. And so oftentimes you'll have to, have that conversation again and just satisfy them that, hey, you've made the right decision. Nothing's changed between the conversation that we had and now, other than you got in your head and you started to doubt yourself. And so sometimes you'll have to have that secondary conversation. But what you do after that person signs up and, in the immediate time after that is really important. For me, I take a bunch of notes and then I get the contracts out. All those different things go there straight away. I set them up in their individual client folders, and so that we can share information. I set them, I send them all the things that they need, so that they feel like, oh, okay, this thing is happening. And I always let them know, you've got to get excited about this. Don't be fearful. You've got to get excited, because we're going to do some good things together. And you've really got to make them comfortable with the decision that they've just made. And they should be. It's just, it's natural. People always, not always, but a big percentage of the time, if it's a big step for them, they are going to have to require a little bit of, I don't know, I guess just reinforcing the fact that they've made the right decision. All right, so it should, as I said, it should feel natural. It should feel like a great natural conversation. You don't need a script. All you want to know is, what are the problems that you're having right now? And then you have to decide, can I solve this? And then you can have that conversation about that. Okay, so this is how we would do it without solving problems, and you would be I'm really clear about that. Look, I'm not going to solve any problems for you today. That's what people pay me for. But like conceptually, this is how we would do it. And, so you've got to work that out for yourself. Or you can work with me and we can sort it out. And the other thing that I want to remind you of, and I've already touched on this, is that you are making a decision as well here. So you're not just jumping through hoops to try and get a sale and pick me. You are actually making a decision about, do I want to work with this client? Can I help this client? Do I want to spend time with this particular person, and can I help them? And if you can't help them, never say yes, because it's not worth it. It really isn't. It's the most draining, stressful thing, trying to work with a client that you've taken on thinking, oh, I think I can help them, but I don't really know. Just don't do it. It's just not worth it. And it just taints your coaching experience and it damages your self-esteem. So you better to just go, you know what, I don't think I can help you. Or, and I do this all the time. Look, I can't help you with that stuff, but what I can do is work with you around this particular component. And they're like, yeah, well, that's exactly what I need. I'm like, okay, so we're clear. I'm not going to do this other part, but I'm going to, I can help you with these bits. And they're like, yep, that's fine. And I always, usually can recommend them to somebody for the other bit that I can't do, whatever that is. And I'm also really clear about my expectations for how the coaching relationship will go. I do that up front and I test them with that. I want people to know how I work, what's acceptable, what isn't acceptable, what I expect of them, what they can expect of me before they say yes. Because, Yes, and that's basically just talking about, let's just talk about what a coaching relationship with me looks like. And then I talk about how I do it. Does that sound okay? Is that cool? And they're like, yep, no problem. That sounds good to me. And then away you go. So the thing with discovery calls is a lot of time people just overthink them, and they think it's got to be this perfect script and it's got to be, conducted in a certain way. And that does work for some people. I know it does. I know that a lot of people were successful using the script that I was given, but it never worked for me. It will never work for me. And if you're one of those people, then just don't try to fight it. Don't try to make it work for you. Just decide that, all I need to do when I go into a discovery call, all I need to know is, have they been screened appropriately? So I'm not totally wasting my time here. So is it a market match? Is the problem solution match right? Is the pricing right? And sometimes you don't really know that until you get in the call. But I used to have a question. I think I need to put it back in. What is your budget for coaching? I'm going to put that question back in because that's a really good one. Because then they're straight away telling you about how much they've got to spend. And usually that's not the amount. Usually it's more than that. Oh my God, I've got to come back and tell you that story. But yeah, so you go into the discovery calls and it's basically, have you screened them properly? And so when they arrive, face to face with you or on the Skype call or on the phone or whatever it is, you know that there's a really good chance that this person is a right match. You go through the session, you ask questions, you get the lay of the land, you work out what is the problem that they're dealing with. You make a decision, can I help this person? And do I want to work with them? And they're making the same decision. And it should feel really natural if you're a good fit and you're able to just say, so do you want some help with that? I really want to help you. Do you want some help? Yeah, I would love some help. Okay, let's work okay, so you want to work together? Yep. Okay, let's work out how we're going to do this. And then you just go into that conversation and then, be really clear that you want to work with that person. Yeah, that's it. I'm going to come back to the story. So that's it. That's everything for today. So yeah, as Jess said, grab a pen and paper and maybe watch and listen to this a few times. Let it all sink in because I know I went through a lot of stuff. Anyway, the other story that I have is I signed up, it was about 2012, I think it was, with a coach. She's a life coach, but I worked with her because she had authored some books. I hadn't written my first book by that stage, and she built a really amazing brand after the launch of her book. And I thought, I want to work with this girl because I basically want to do what she's done. And I bought the whole coaching package up front, and her process for running me through before we met was pretty good. And I thought, yeah, I'm excited about this. I did the questionnaire and I'm like, this is going to be awesome. And then paid in full. And then we did the first session and I think she was a new coach. She's very successful. You would know who it is. She's an American lady and just has this incredible brand. She's on television all the time. I'm not telling you who it is. But anyway, we do the first bloody coaching session and she was like coaching out of the handbook. And I said, look, I'm just going to interrupt you and I'm really sorry. I don't want to be rude, but I don't want you to ask me coaching questions from the manual. What I want is your experience. Remember when we first spoke, I said to you, what I want is to for you to help me basically replicate what you just did in my own way. The reason that I bought or signed up for you as a coach was because you have done what I wanted to do and I wanted you to draw on your wisdom. Like that's what I need from you. I don't need questions from a coaching book. And, I've been coaching for a long time and you're just doing coaching 101 with me and that's not what I need. And I'm sorry to be so blunt, but if I'm going to get anything out of this coaching program, you really need to give me more. And she's like, yeah. Next session, same bloody thing. And I'm like, remember we had that conversation about not just asking me coaching questions out of the book? And she's like, yeah. And the third time it was the same thing. And I said, you know what, I'm done. I signed up with you because you had a lot of wisdom that you can draw on and you're not using any of it. You intent on coaching out of the freaking book. So she's like, well, I can't give you your money back. And I'm like, keep it, it's fine. And then I just pulled the pin. I had about 7 sessions left or something like that. So the lesson in that for me was really, you've really got to listen to what's going on, you know, and it's a whole other conversation, but it's that drawing on, and Jess touched on it before. It's like coaching is our ability to, I know, she didn't, you know, I think she stopped coaching. I think she did coaching for a little while and then she stopped and now she does some group stuff. What was I saying? What was I saying, Em? Got sidetracked. It was, oh yeah. So when you're coaching is our ability to draw out the information from the people that we're working with because they essentially know best. And we guide them. But there are going to be times when you need to draw on your wisdom because nobody wants to pay somebody to basically say, well, what do you think? Yeah. What do you think you should do next? Or, okay, what do you think about that? Because they're like, well, I'm paying you to help me with this. So if you can't draw out what the person needs, then you've got to use your wisdom. And so it's when you slip into that mentoring role and it's like, hey, look, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but this is what worked for me, or this is how I got there, and you can share that information. And Jess said so eloquently before. She said, I love it when you share your stories because there's so much wisdom there. And that's what somebody's paying you for. They're not paying you for, you know, the coaching questions in the book. They're paying you because you're a living, breathing human being with a ton of experience that is super important, you know, and is going to add value to that person. And that's why they're there with you in the first place. So you've got to draw on that. Don't be afraid to do that. And don't be afraid to really throw everything out the window and just focus 100% on the client and what they need. Trust yourself to know that, you know, if you've said to them, yes, I can definitely help you with that because you know you can, then you just have to trust that you know exactly what you need to do to get them there. You're going to say the right things. You're going to give them the right information. You're going to ask the right questions. Maybe not the first time, but you'll get there. And just don't be afraid, as I said, to just throw the training manual aside and just really focus on doing the best job that you can based on you know, and your wisdom, because that is what's different. Nobody has the experience that I have. Not a single person on the planet has the same experience I have. And nobody has the same experience you have. And maybe they've had a parallel life where things were similar, but their take on it is going to be entirely different to your take on it. So that's why it's so important to be you, be all of you from the start, not just when you start coaching them, but all the way through, and sharing that wisdom in your content across everything. Because if you can do that, then you're going to attract the right people, and you're going to have a much better time coaching. You're going to have so much more fun coaching these people, and you know you're going to get a result. Being fully present counts for a lot, doesn't it? It does. Just really hearing the person, yeah, totally. It makes all the difference. And, you know, the more experienced you are as a coach, the easier that is. You know, in the early days, you're so conscious of yourself. You're so conscious of you doing a good job for the client and getting, you know, saying the right things and all of that sort of stuff. When honestly, the one piece of advice I can give anybody is, if all you do is focus on the client and truly listen and be with them, as Emily said, just be in the moment, be fully present, then you're not going to miss anything. Unless you're sitting there thinking, what do I say next? What's a good question I can ask next? I did that in the early days. If you can just fully tune into your client and listen to what they have to say, if you've already said yes to that person, you're already a match. Then, hey Donna, I've just been working on your website. I've got news for you in a moment. Yeah, but if you can do all of those things, you're going to have a great coaching client relationship. It's going to be a lot of fun. And as I said, you've already made the decision that you're a match and that you can help that person. So then just help them by doing it the way that you need to do it. And that comes from really listening to them and making sure that they feel fully heard. Anyway, that's it. Today's gone on for a long time today. I'm not quite sure how long, but tomorrow's probably, I don't know how long it's going to be. This one's only 3 days and it is a challenge. I know it's a challenge. I'm not going to challenge you to do anything today other than watch the content, make notes, maybe watch it and then go away and listen to it, listen to it as well. And really soak it all in, because this information, if I had this information when I was first starting out, I would be one happy camper, that's for sure. I would definitely have saved myself a lot of awkwardness in my coaching sessions and the discovery calls, that's for sure. And my conversion rate would have been much higher. Anyway, have a great day. I'll be back tomorrow at the same time. And if you're listening to the recording and you have questions or comments, I'd love to hear them. And that's a wrap. Bye.